I always thought the silence in our home was just ordinary. Until the day I overheard my mother whisper, she was never supposed to stay. I was 21, top of my class, yet treated like background noise in my own family. My twin sister got the hugs, the praise, the future. Me? I got the blame, the quiet, the locked drawers filled with secrets. On graduation day, my father stood up mid-ceremony and said 6 words that shattered whatever was left of me. But what happened 10 seconds later didn't just silence the room. It changed everything they thought they knew about me. I was 6 when I first realized something was off. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and the classroom was decorated with art projects from every student. I clutched mine, an awkward paper flower glued crookedly onto bright blue cardstock. I thought it was beautiful. My mother didn't. She didn't even wait until we got to the car. The sting on my cheek burned hotter than the shame in my chest. "You're not even trying," she snapped. Mia, my twin, waddled up beside us with her drawing. Just 2 stick figures and a red blob in between. Mom beamed, hugged her, and said, "This is real talent." That moment calcified something in me. I learned how to flinch early, how to smile, even when I felt like I'd swallowed broken glass. I became good at disappearing. At dinner, I'd serve the rice, refill the water, clear the plates. Mia would sit like a guest in her own home while I moved like staff. On vacations, there was always 1 less ticket for the museum, 1 less portion of dessert, 1 seat further from the camera. I never asked why. I just folded myself smaller to fit the frame. You ever look at a family photo and realize you're just decoration? Just someone standing there slightly off-center whose smile doesn't match the rest? I blamed myself at first. Maybe I wasn't funny enough. Maybe I didn't cry the right way. Maybe I failed too quietly. I devoured books, won contests, learned how to cook, how to code, how to fake laughter. I once overheard Mia whisper to her friend, "Olivia's like a glitch in the family algorithm, always messing with the vibe." And so I asked myself, if I vanished tomorrow, would anyone even notice I was gone? The answer came years later, and it came loud. I was 17 when I tried to register for my driver's license. They asked for a birth certificate. I went home, opened the family drawer where we kept documents, passports, immunization records, school awards, and mine wasn't there. Mia's was. So were 3 copies of it. Mine? Not a page. I asked Mom. Her eyes narrowed, lips flat. "It's probably just misfiled," she said before walking off. I checked again that night. Nothing. Curious turned into paranoid. I started flipping through old albums, expecting to find childhood memories. What I found was Mia. Over and over. Baby Mia on the hospital bed. Mia in the stroller. Mia in her first dress. In the first 20 pages, I didn't appear once, not even in the background, until I found a photo taped shut in an envelope at the bottom. It was a grainy picture of a baby, face blurry, body turned away. Scrawled on the back, July 11th, delivery completed. That was my birthday. I didn't know who to ask, until one Sunday, while helping Grandma sort through laundry, she looked up and smiled vaguely. "Poor thing. They never meant to keep you, you know." I froze. "What?" Grandma blinked. "You're the little sacrifice, the one they had to protect." "What are you talking about?" But her eyes had glazed over. Her hands kept folding towels like the moment hadn't just shattered my world. 2 weeks later, I ordered a DNA test kit online, just to shut my own head up, just to stop imagining ridiculous theories. When the results came in, my hands shook opening the email. I was 99.99% matched with my parents. And Mia, 0. I sat in the bathroom, the one place in the house without a camera, and stared at the ceiling until the tiles turned to static. Every moment clicked into place. Every rejection, every withheld hug, every time they said, "Mia's more sensitive, be patient with her." Every time they said, "We didn't plan for 2 daughters." I wasn't the mistake. I was the secret. Later that night, I snuck into Mom's office and unlocked the cabinet with the birth files. There was a folder marked Project Iris. Inside, scientific documents, charts, fetal scans, with one line bolded in red. Subject exhibits enhanced neural connectivity. Conceal identity until maturity assessment complete. They hadn't ignored me because I was unremarkable. They had hidden me because I was dangerous. And Mia wasn't the chosen one. She was the cover. They didn't just try to forget me. They tried to erase me from the beginning. I stopped trying to be loved the night I was accepted into the Parallax Initiative, a black box research group for neural AI development. It wasn't a scholarship most students could apply to. You got noticed. They invited you. No fanfare. Just a single line in an encrypted email. "We've been watching. You're ready." They only accepted 1 candidate per year. I didn't even tell Mia. I used the name Eva, the name I used to whisper to my pillow as a child. In that name, I found a version of me untouched by silence, unshaped by neglect. Eva wasn't apologetic. Eva didn't need permission to exist. By day, I still wore Olivia's skin. I cooked the rice. I wiped the counters. I ran errands. I listened to Mom say, "Mia is an angel. Thank God we got at least one." She never said it to my face. She didn't need to. Her tone carried years of repetition. But at night, Eva came alive. I built a neural system that could detect human emotions with over 90% accuracy. Not just facial cues, but voice inflection, micro-pauses, vocabulary patterns. Then I did something reckless. I trained the AI on every conversation I had ever had with my mother. I fed it videos of Mia getting praised, of me being ignored. I gave it silence. I gave it cruelty. I gave it everything I'd craved in reverse. Then I asked it one thing. "What would you say to a daughter you actually loved?" The AI responded, "You are not broken. I see you. You're enough." I played that line back over and over until it felt like oxygen. Most nights I sat cross-legged on the floor of my closet, wrapped in blankets, headphones on, eyes closed. I'd watch old videos on mute, imagining what they could have been. My 9th grade science fair, where Mia spilled water on her volcano and still got a standing ovation. My project? A full circuitry-based weather sensor. No one even looked at it. I watched the video again, rewound it. Paused on the moment Mom touched Mia's hair and smiled so wide her eyes crinkled. I whispered to myself, I was a child too, once. That line broke me, and then it built me, because for the first time I realized I didn't want their love. Not if I had to audition for it. I didn't want forgiveness or understanding. I didn't want a seat at their table. I wanted to build my own damn table and let others like me sit without having to beg. I registered the domain, novacode.org. No photos, no bios. Just one mission: connect, train, and fund women in STEM who've been overlooked, unheard, and underestimated. At first, it was just me and 2 girls from my coding class. But the momentum was wild. Posts got shared. Mentors signed up. Within 2 months, we had chapters in 5 schools. Then 10. Then 20. I never used my name. Novacode wasn't about me. It was about invisibles like me. Still, I tracked it all obsessively. At dinner, while Mia shared her skincare tips and Mom ranted about local politics, I scrolled under the table, watching Novacode's numbers tick up. One night, we hit 50,000 members. I smiled into my mashed potatoes. That was the night I got the message. An anonymous email. No subject line, no text body. Just a link. Cautious but curious, I clicked. It was grainy surveillance footage. Our kitchen. I saw Mom and Mia sitting at the counter whispering. Mia, "Are you sure this is okay?" Mom, "Sweetheart, Olivia was just the test run. You're the face the world wants." Then Mom pulled out a glossy pitch deck labeled Nova Code. STEM for Girls. Founded by Mia Reynolds. My body went cold. Mia continued hesitantly. "But I didn't make it. She did." Mom laughed. "And you think that matters? People don't care about who's smart. They care about who's marketable." Mia, "What if she finds out?" Mom, "She won't. She never fights back." The video ended there. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I screenshot the message. I copied the video. I backed it up to 4 different cloud services, 2 hard drives, and an encrypted blockchain wallet. Then I renamed the folder, Backup for Judgment Day. And for the first time, I felt no shame, no fear, just clarity. They wanted to steal my story? Let them try. It was a Friday evening when The Betrayal aired on national TV. I had just come back from the campus lab, covered in synthetic dust and caffeine sweat, when I heard Mom's laughter echoing from the living room. That sound, so rare and so raw, made me pause. I peeked around the corner and there she was, Mia, sitting pretty on the wide screen, legs crossed, hair curled into manufactured elegance. Beneath her name, the lower third graphic read, Founder of STEM Hope, National Leader in Women's Tech Education. My name, my work, my life, stolen, pixel by pixel, smile by smile. "I just want to give back," Mia said softly to the host, her voice trembling just enough. "I know what it's like to feel unwanted, to grow up in silence." Mom clutched her chest like the words had cracked her open. I stood there, still in my worn hoodie, hands shaking at my sides. Mia went on. "No girl should ever feel invisible." I whispered, "No girl should ever feel like me." The host leaned in, starry-eyed. "And you built this all from scratch?" Mia nodded. "Yes. I just followed my heart." My breath left me like a slap. They cut to commercial. In our house, cheers went up. Dad popped champagne. Mia wasn't even home, but they toasted like she'd just cured cancer. Then Mom said it, loud, laughing. "She's finally made something of herself. Thank God one of them did." They didn't see me. Not just metaphorically. Literally. I had slipped into the hallway, invisible as ever. No one asked where I was. No one even noticed I'd left. The next morning, the house buzzed with activity. A marketing team came over. Dad signed a non-disclosure agreement. Mia's face was on banners. Mom handed out custom pins with STEM Hope, etched in gold. They threw a celebration in the backyard. Catering, balloons, an actual ice sculpture. I wasn't invited, so I walked past the party with a grocery bag in my hand, paused at the living room door, and caught one last soundbite from the television as a rerun played. Mia, smiling. "This isn't about fame. It's about women like me who had to fight to be seen." I stared at her, at my own reflection layered faintly in the glass, and whispered, "Yeah, like me." Then I laughed, quietly. The kind of laugh that doesn't need humor, the kind that bubbles up from somewhere darker, somewhere done. Later that night, I opened my laptop and began to write. The letter wasn't angry. It wasn't loud. It was calm. Too calm. It simply stated facts, names, dates, contributions, screen captures, footage, testimonies, emails, code, the blueprint of STEM Hope, time-stamped, signed. By me. I didn't claim ownership. I didn't beg for credit. I just told the truth. And then I linked everything, every file, every piece of data, every lie, every silence. I hit upload at 2:13 a.m. under a pseudonym I hadn't used in years, Nova Ghost. By 4 a.m., the post was trending on 3 platforms. By 5 worked, someone else added a tag. The real founder. By 6 word, the email arrived. I never meant for this. A. My breath caught. Only one person ever called himself just A. Adam. He had been my escape once. We met in freshman year, both coding alone in the back of the library. He wore mismatched socks and carried a notebook full of ideas he swore the world wasn't ready for. He loved fiercely, with eyes that saw everything I didn't say. I broke up with him after 6 months. No warning, no reason. Just one message. You deserve someone without baggage. And I vanished. Turns out he didn't. His message came with a file, surveillance footage from inside the studio, where Mia had filmed her interview. The audio was raw, unedited. Between takes, Mia asked the producer, "Should I mention my sister?" He laughed. "Not unless she's prettier." Adam had hacked the security system. He'd been watching the headlines, and he knew exactly who built Stemhope. I stared at the message for a long time, heart stuttering. You've always had someone watching, Olivia, even when they tried to erase you. The post hit 3 million views in 4 hours. No press statement from Mia, no denial from Mom, just silence. And for once, it felt like victory. The campus auditorium was packed. Rows of folding chairs gleamed under the stage lights, and the air buzzed with families reuniting, bouquets crinkling in celebration, and the hum of names called into microphones. But I sat alone, near the back, in the gown I'd picked up quietly the day before, cap pressed flat on my lap. No one in my family knew I'd be there. I hadn't planned to tell them. I didn't need another lecture about how real success doesn't come from coding in your bedroom. I didn't want another conversation about how Mia carries herself better. I just wanted one moment, one, where I got to exist without permission. And today I would. The dean tapped the mic. "Before we close today's ceremony," he began, voice low and measured, "we'd like to honor a student whose work in ethical AI not only pushed boundaries academically, but has already impacted thousands of lives nationwide." I could feel the heat crawling up my neck. My name hadn't been called yet, but something in the cadence said it was coming. "Recipient of this year's National Innovation Award," he continued, "and creator of the Nova Code Network. Please welcome to the stage." He paused. "Olivia Reynolds." The auditorium went still. I heard it before I saw her. My mother's voice, sharp and theatrical. "Excuse me? Did you just say Olivia Reynolds?" A few heads turned. She stood. "There must be a mistake. You mean Mia Reynolds. She's the one who—" "No," the dean said calmly but firmly. "We mean Olivia." Every eye turned to me, and I stood. I didn't feel shaky. Not this time. As I made my way to the front, the click of my heels against the floor echoed like drum beats. My parents stared, frozen. Mia blinked like she'd seen a ghost. I reached the podium. The applause was hesitant, scattered, unsure. A few students clapped, remembering the Nova Code announcement weeks earlier. Others just waited. I didn't open my notes. I reached into my gown, pulled out a small flash drive, and slid it into the presentation laptop. The screen behind me flickered to life, and then I pressed play. It started with Mia's TV interview, where she called herself the founder of Stemhope. Then it cut to a clip of her whispering off camera. She'll never find out, she's too quiet. Then my mother laughing, "People don't care who's smart, they care who smiles." Then overlays, Timelines, screenshots, code signatures, all matched to my account history. The room was dead silent. Even the stage lights felt colder. When it ended, I stepped back from the podium. "I was never asking for credit," I said, voice even. "I just stopped being okay with being erased." No applause came at first, and then a single person clapped, then two, then a wave. The room erupted, not just in recognition, but in something heavier. Vindication. I didn't look at my family until I stepped off the stage. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. Mia had tears forming but said nothing. And my mother. My mother looked at me like I was fire, not broken, not lost, but dangerous. Security approached them minutes later, whispering. There'd been a complaint filed. Public misrepresentation, fraud under academic honor codes. They were escorted out, quietly. Not with screaming, but with stunned silence. The applause still rang in my ears as I walked backstage. The curtain closed behind me, and the roar became a murmur. I sat down on a folding chair near the prop storage, alone again, finally, but not in the same way. I reached up and loosened my graduation cap, fingers shaking. Let my hair fall, slowly. Then I whispered, to no one and everyone, "I don't need your claps anymore." I sat there for what felt like hours, just breathing, letting the moment settle, not victorious, not smug, just still. Then my phone buzzed, one notification, no contact name. Just a number I didn't recognize. "This is where they put girls like you. Don't go home." My chest constricted. I stared at the message, then stared longer, because attached was a photo, an image of a building, gray, sterile, windowless, labeled Neural Stability Research Facility, Level 4 clearance. I had seen it once, in the documents labeled Project Iris. And I remembered the last line. Subject to be reassessed for containment at age 21 if uncooperative. I'd just turned 21. I never intended to go home. But I didn't expect them to come for me so quickly. The message had barely sunk in when another arrived, this time from my father. Short and sweet. "Come to the facility tomorrow. They want to assess your mental state after the public stunt." They didn't even try to lie. I showed up anyway. I needed to see it for myself. The Neural Stability Research Facility was colder than I remembered from the documents. An ugly thing of steel and surveillance. I was escorted in by two staffers in white lab coats. No greetings, no conversation. Just silence, clinical and rehearsed. They led me to a chair, not unlike a dentist's, but with restraints on the armrests. I didn't resist. Not yet. A man in his 30s entered, clipboard in hand. He didn't introduce himself, but I recognized him instantly. Aaron Patel. We'd gone to the same high school. He was brilliant, always top of the class, until sophomore year when he was expelled after a scandal involving stolen research. Rumor had it the teacher had given my project to Aaron, and I'd accidentally uncovered it during a routine scan. I reported it. He was removed. Now he was standing over me in a lab coat, eyes unreadable. "Olivia," he said, smiling faintly. "Or should I say, Subject IR07? I didn't flinch. "I always wondered how long it would take before you became inconvenient," he added, pulling on a pair of gloves. "So this is what failure looks like," I murmured. He chuckled. "On the contrary, this is what containment looks like. You think you're free because you shouted on a stage? We built that script. We built you. You were just never meant to go off book." I stared at the fluorescent lights above me, heart pounding. But fear had already passed. What replaced it was precision. I'd brought my watch. Not a regular one, of course. It looked like a basic digital face. but it carried a signal system embedded in my AI code. Silent, undetectable, until triggered. Aaron approached with a small black device. This will reset your short-term memory. We'll call it a breakdown. Mia will resume your public role, and you'll go back to being what you were always meant to be, an asset. He reached forward. I smiled and tapped the side of my watch. Nothing happened, at first. Then every monitor in the room went black. The emergency lights flickered. Alarms didn't blare. They fizzled. My AI, coded into the network backbone during my last routine scan of STEMHope's new cloud-based servers, had infected every endpoint connected to my name. And this facility? It had accessed my files when preparing for my visit, which meant it was already mine. Aaron backed up. What did you do? I stood, the restraints clicking open. I rewrote the script. Security stormed in, but the doors locked behind them. Cameras flipped downward, and from every speaker in the room, my AI's voice played. You are not broken. I see you. You're enough. It was the line I'd trained it to say. It echoed through the halls like gospel. I walked out, just like that. No one followed. By the time I got back to the city, the media had already picked up the signal breach. Anonymous sources claimed it exposed years of unethical experimentation. A wave of journalists crashed into the story like a tidal surge. The center shut down within 48 hours. I didn't hide. I stepped into the light, with my real name. Olivia Reynolds. No aliases, no pseudonyms. Just me. And I rebuilt STEMHope. This time not as a ghost, but as its rightful leader. We went global. We partnered with schools, with NGOs, with governments. We launched scholarships for girls in restrictive households, in foster care, in systems designed to erase them. I wrote a book, Echoes of the Unseen. It wasn't a memoir. It was a manual on how to build a life from pieces others tried to discard, on how to become whole without permission. One of the chapters started with a question. If no one ever claps for you again, will you still dance? That chapter made the most people cry. I didn't talk about Mia publicly. I didn't need to. But one day, a letter arrived, handwritten, no return address. Inside was a single page. For years I thought being chosen meant being loved, but I finally realized I was just being used to protect a lie. This is the first thing I've done for myself. Not for Mom, not for the world, just me. It was signed, shakily, Mia. No apology, no explanation. Just a sentence I understood better than anyone. I finally chose myself. The house was small, no more than 3 rooms stacked neatly into a corner of the hills, where the city lights glimmered just far enough to be background noise. I didn't need much. Not anymore. I had everything I'd spent years clawing toward. Silence I could control, laughter I could believe in, and one small hand I held every morning as we crossed the kitchen floor in fuzzy socks. Her name was Lila. 8 years old when I first met her at a STEMHope outreach event for foster girls. Eyes too wide, voice too flat. She didn't speak for the first 3 weeks she lived with me, but she listened. I never asked about her past. The system had already done enough of that. What mattered was the present. Oatmeal and blueberries, braiding her hair before school, teaching her how to run JavaScript in the same terminal I used when I built my first AI. She was brilliant, not in the flashy way Mia had been groomed to perform, but in the quiet way the stars shine before anyone thinks to look up. One night, as we built a logic tree for her school project, she looked up and asked, "Was I a mistake?" I froze. My hand hovered over the keyboard, and then I said, "No one gets to decide that but you." She nodded once, then went back to her code. I never told her my full story. Not yet. She didn't need my weight on her back. But I made sure she understood one thing every day. No one, I said again and again, has the right to define your value. She started to believe it. I could see it in her spine, the way she walked taller, laughed louder, and in that, I healed. Not by undoing what had happened to me, but by breaking the cycle that nearly swallowed me whole. Life moved forward, quietly, steadily, until the envelope came. No name, just a wax seal I hadn't seen in years. My mother's. I stared at it for a long time before I opened it. It wasn't shock that stopped me. It was the absence of emotion. The dull neutrality of an old scar you forget is there until someone touches it. Inside was a legal note. My mother had passed 2 weeks prior. Cancer. Fast and private. True to form, she'd told no one. There was no funeral. But there was a box. The lawyer handed it to me without explanation. It was small, wooden, worn. I opened it on the back porch, Lila asleep upstairs. Inside, wrapped in soft linen, was a tiny white onesie, yellowed with age, edges frayed. Tucked beneath it, a single folded letter. My hands didn't shake this time. "Olivia," it began, "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know. I saw you. I always did. I was just too afraid to let the world see you, too. You were never the problem. You were the miracle I wasn't strong enough to protect. I tried to build a shield for you by using your sister. I thought if the world looked at her, they wouldn't come for you. But I failed, not because I was wrong about your light, but because I underestimated how brightly you'd shine without me. You raised yourself, Olivia. You became everything I couldn't. I want you to know, this box is the only thing I saved when we moved houses. It's yours, and it always was. I hope one day you'll understand that loving you wasn't the hard part, facing what that love demanded of me. That's where I failed. You don't need my approval anymore, but you deserve my truth. I'm sorry I didn't protect you, but you protected yourself better than I ever could have dreamed. There was no signature, only a closing line. Goodbye, my daughter. My legacy. I folded the letter, closed the box, and set it gently on the table. No tears came, but I sat with it for hours. And then I stood, stretched, and walked upstairs. The next morning, I accepted a speaking invitation I'd turned down for years. TED Global. They flew me out 2 months later. Lila came too, sitting in the front row, hands clasped over her lap like she was holding the world together. I walked on stage in a white suit. No notes, no projection. Just me. And for 20 minutes, I told the truth. Not about betrayal or injustice, but about becoming. About building when no one claps. About creating when no one watches. About choosing yourself when no one ever does. I ended with one line. I was never the family burden. I was the blueprint. The audience rose. But I didn't cry. I smiled. Not because I won, but because I was free.